And now, Helen Mountford.
To see you all here and online here in Miami. I'm Helen Mountford. I'm President and CEO of ClimateWorks Foundation. We work to help amplify the impact of climate philanthropy, helping to get more money to the field to tackle the big climate challenges more quickly. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about shipping and what we can do on shipping. Shipping is the lifeblood of the global economy. Up to 90% of global trade is carried on ships. But shipping also has massive impacts on human health and on the planet. Today's ships rely very heavily on fossil fuels, with most using bottom-of-the-barrel heavy fuel oil, particularly polluting. As a result, the sector produces about 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide a year. If shipping were a country, it'd be the 6th largest greenhouse gas emitter. Just as an example, Carnival Corporation's cruise ships operating in European waters produce 10 times more sulfur pollution than all of Europe's 260 million cars. 10 times more just from those cruise ships compared to all the cars. So any pathway to a climate-safe future really needs shipping the sector to peak emissions soon and to reach net zero carbon by 2050. And while we've got some very promising pilot projects, we need to do more and urgently for the industry to get onto the right track. The good news is it can be done. If we shift just 5% of ships to new clean fuels by 2030, we could put the whole industry on a growth curve to achieve 100% zero carbon ships by 2050. But we need to start now. First slide, please. So there is some good news. There's some promising news in this sector. Although shipping has traditionally been a very slow to move industry, a very hard to move industry, it's an industry that is concentrated with just a few big power players. And that means there's some opportunity here. Just 10 companies control more than 90% of the worldwide container market. That includes Maersk, MSC, Costco, names that are familiar to so many of you. And major retailers like Walmart, Target, and Amazon use these companies for their shipping needs. So with leadership from just a few of these leading shipping cargo owners and these major retailers, the industry's concentration could actually enable it to be the factor which can help it to shift quickly. We just need a few to step up and have leadership. And the good news is we've got a few who are moving. So let me highlight an example from Maersk. Maersk has a strong commitment to net zero emissions. It's responsible for over 1 in 6 container ships globally. In 2018, their CEO committed that all their shipping would be net zero by 2050. At that time, they had no idea how they were going to actually really achieve this, but they knew with that significant market share, if they actually put this target in place, shipbuilders and fuel producers would actually find the solutions to help get them there. That market share is so important. And it's working. With progress in the sector already, Maersk has since brought forward its net zero emissions target to 2040 and has set milestone 2030 target, so it's making improvements. Amazon is another emerging leader in this space. As co-founder of the Climate Pledge and with a goal to deliver 50% of Amazon shipments with net zero carbon by 2030. So we need more bold action from just a few players like this, big industry leaders, to really tip the shipping industry to green. And then what we can do is consolidate that through the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, which is where governments come together to agree common rules for the shipping sector. So let me highlight just 5 specific levers that can help us to move on this trajectory. First, establish green corridors to show how goods can be moved without fossil fuels. Just a few initial shipping routes that run on zero-emission fuels, catalyzed by favorable market and policy conditions, can demonstrate how to reach that 5% by 2030 goal. So green corridors have already been announced from Los Angeles to Shanghai, which is one of the world's busiest container routes, and Australia to East Asia, where mining companies have joined with shipping lines to create an iron ore transport route that's going to be using ammonia-powered vessels. So we've got some examples, we need a few more there. Second point, price carbon to stop subsidizing fossil fuel pollution. That's a popular one. Glad to hear there's support here. Governments have often completely exempted shipping from carbon pricing and from any fuel taxes. This has got to stop now. They should also set mandatory standards for zero carbon fuels and shipping and reduced air pollution as the industry starts to gain confidence with the new technologies and approaches. So there's a lot there that governments can do on setting the emissions targets and the regulations. Third, leverage and scale collaboration among cargo owners, shippers, ports, fuel producers, and policymakers. So initiatives like Aspen Institute's Cargo Owners for Zero Emission Vessels sends an absolutely vital signal from ship owners to the maritime value chain and bunker fuel producers that they expect and want the industry to move faster towards these solutions. The Climate Emergency Shipping Coalition is another one which brings together stakeholders and analysts to identify some of the solutions that can decarbonize shipping, working across technology, policy, and industry. From the ClimateWorks Foundation side, we're really happy to be supporting both of these initiatives in finding the solutions and moving forward. And this work has been made possible by grants from the Bezos Earth Fund, and their giving has now inspired others. So there are more coming into this field to actually support these important coalitions which can help drive the action and build the leaders we need. Next slide, thank you. Fourth point, we need to avoid being hoodwinked by the fossil fuel lobby. There is a strong push now to replace heavy shipping oil with gas as a fuel. But when you consider the full life cycle of liquefied natural gas, including significant leakage, as you can see in this photo here, gas is not the solution we need. This is particularly, that's popular too? Good. This is particularly true as we see the consequences of a Russian war in Ukraine that is being financed by our addiction to fossil fuels. Now is not the moment to create more demand for gas. And fifth, absolutely essential, is to support a just transition. Because shipping is fundamental to local economies and the world, and with so much importance on port communities employing so many people, there are social and justice implications to the transition, and we need to ensure these are taken into consideration and local communities involved in the decisions and the planning for the transition. With these 5 levers and leadership from a few of the cargo ship owners, the shipping container companies, and retailers, just a few leaders in this space, we can really tip the shipping sector to green. It's been a sector that has been ignored for far too long, who has enormous emissions, and they're growing. We have the solutions, we need the leaders, and it's time to move. So please join us. Thank you.